Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We're going to switch gears a little bit here because normally it's Canadian politics that we talk about and good old Justin Trudeau, or as I call him, Captain Socks, here on the channel, where today it's a little more focused on Donald Trump. Now, the reason we're switching gears is because I've often said that whatever happens in the US election this year is heavily going to affect what happens in Canadian politics for our election next year. Now, unless you were living under a rock, you heard about Donald Trump's conviction yesterday, all accounts found guilty. We knew this was going to happen. It's a kangaroo court. Well, we saw it coming from a mile away. In fact, I tweeted out last night that no matter what happens here, Trump wins. He's going to turn this around. It's going to work in his favor. They've literally just signed their own warrant as Donald Trump showing once again through just about a surge in Americans that you can't hold him down. You can't stop the fact that Joe Biden has ultimately destroyed the United States. He's done the same as Justin Trudeau in Canada. He's invicted woke policies that have crippled economies. Look at what's happened in San Francisco under Gavin Newsom. Everything happening in the United States that's slowly deteriorating their economy. And now people want change, much like Canada. They're looking at Donald Trump and saying, we all know that he's not guilty of these convictions. We all know that this was done to simply smear his name, to try and take him off the campaign trail. It was a terrible, terrible miscarriage of justice. And we're going to maybe touch on more of what's going to happen when it comes time for him to enter the courts in July to essentially assess that. But what happened afterwards, what I want to talk about today, was a surge in polls and funding for his campaign, showing that there is nothing the Democratic Party can do at this point to silence Donald Trump. We've seen in Canada Justin Trudeau trying to silence people on the internet by putting out speech bills that prevent people from putting certain content online. That's even gone as far as to say that depending on what you say online could land you in jail with a life sentence. It's all suppression. We've seen the machine do it. Now, the Democratic machine is trying to suppress Donald Trump in the United States. But here we go. Sean McGuire, he's a big crypto guy in the United States. Says, I just donated $300,000 to Trump. I'm prepared to lose friends. Here's why. Back in 2016, I had drunk the media Kool-Aid and was scared out of my mind about Trump. As such, I donated to Clinton's campaign and voted for her. By 2020, I was delusioned, and didn't vote. I didn't like either option. Now in 2024, I believe this is the one that is most important elections of my lifetime, and I'm supporting Trump. I know that I'll lose friends for this. Some will refuse to do business with me. The media will probably demonize me as they have so many others before me. But despite this, I still believe it's the right thing to do. I refuse to live in a society where people are afraid to speak. Then he highlights the 2016 election. I'm going to start off with something provocative, but I think it leads to a different take on the most controversial Trump issue, which is obviously January 6th. So here goes nothing. I believe the 2016 election, now this is his words, were manipulated to hurt Hillary Clinton and to help Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton herself believes this. She has denied the 2016 election results dozens of times and still does to this day. Plot twist, I agree with her. Look into Guccifer 2.0, which was the hacker group that strategically leaked her emails through WikiLeaks in a drip campaign just to write the moments. Turns out it was the Russian GRU. Again, we've seen that disproved. I don't know where these comments are coming from. But he goes on, but it says, before proceeding, please watch at least 30 seconds of this video. 24 straight minutes of Democrats denying election results. Russia and others interfering in the 2016 election was nothing new. This happens in every election, everywhere in the world. Obviously, we've seen it in Canada with Chinese interference. That's been proven and documented. President Trump turned out to be a master of foreign policy and particularly strong towards Russia. If you've ever seen it before, please watch this 2-minute clip. If you're too lazy, Trump told Germany that they're A, owned by Russia via their energy dependence, B, financing Russia's war machine by buying their energy, C, not investing enough in defense, investing only 1% of GDP, which was below the 2% NATO commitment. Meanwhile, the US was investing in 4.2% of GDP, and yet the world said he's owned by Russia. For other Trump foreign policy wins, A, he signed the Abraham Accords. B, successfully put Iran in the penalty box, which the Biden administration immediately unwound. And C, he helped India see the dangers of having their comms network controlled by China, resulting in Huawei and TikTok bans there. The radicalization, he goes on to explain why he's given the $300,000. But why this is important is because after yesterday, Trump campaign says it raised $35 million after the guilty verdict, nearly doubling its prior record. This should tell you a lot about what we're going to see moving forward with Trump's campaign. Again, if Trump doesn't win this election, I'm going to be very, very skeptical as to why. All the numbers are in his favor right now. It says here the Biden campaign also asked donations following the jury's decision in Manhattan hush money case. Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign said it's enjoying record success with fundraising after a jury found him guilty on all 34 counts in his hush money case. The campaign announced Friday morning had raised $34.8 million through WinRed, a Republican fundraising platform that targets small dollar donors. That's the critical part right there. This isn't just this $300,000 donation and a bunch of rich elites. This is small dollar donors. That's insane. Trump campaign advisors Chris Lasivita and Susie Wiles called the donations historic, adding that 29.7% of the donors were new to the WinRed platform. So again, people like Sean McGuire, who maybe changed their mind, who said Donald Trump is worth backing in this race. WinRed actually went down as the Trump campaign called for donations shortly after the verdict was announced Thursday. The technical problem has been resolved, but during the outage, Lasivita urged donors to keep trying with the platform. If you're one of the millions of American patriots wanting to donate to Donald Trump's campaign and you get an error message, don't give up. Log back in and try again. The Trump campaign's message to supporters Thursday evening included an email from Trump that said, "Today is a dark day in history. I can't agree more. Your response right now will shine brighter than 1,000 suns. Please chip in and stand with Trump." As of Friday morning, searches for Trump donation site were up almost 5,000% over 24 hours, according to Google Trends data. Trump, speaking to reporters around 11 a.m. Friday morning at Trump Tower in New York City, hailed the fundraising haul, but gave a different amount than the amount provided in the statement, claiming it was at $39 million. In his remarks, Trump also returned to familiar lines of attack against Joe Biden, claiming that Biden wants to quadruple taxes, set up ridiculous mandates for electric vehicles. Does sound familiar to anybody in Canada? Biden has pledged not to raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year and encourages EVs, but says that there's no mandate. Trump appealed to voters to donate to him, saying November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Again, what happens in the United States is going to ultimately affect what happens next year in Canada. Unbelievable. When you look at the polls are now also propelling donors as the polls have completely surged. It says here the donors interviewed by Reuters were also broadly upbeat about Trump winning in November based on a number of public opinion polls that the Trump was ahead against Joe Biden in various battleground states. I think the big donors are paying attention to the polls, not the verdict, said oil businessman Dan Eberhardt, a Trump donor who also helps raise money for the former president's campaign. The polls are motivating this latest round of businessmen, Eberhardt added, saying that the calls for donors had picked up considerably. After setting out a fundraising disadvantage against Joe Biden, Trump, for the first time in April, outraised his Democratic rival, aided by fundraising events across the country. Andy Sabine, a Metals businessman and Republican donor who supported 3 different candidates in the Republican presidential primary before setting on voting for Trump, but has not donated to him so far, did not see the verdict as having an impact. I haven't met one donor yet that gives a shit about the trial. No matter how much they hate Trump, they think he's getting screwed, said Sabine, who regularly attends fundraisers and is donating to congressional candidates. Trump can absolutely win this election, Sabine said. as long as he keeps his mouth shut. And that is going to be what's critical here as we head into that US election later this year, is if Trump can get away from Twitter, get away from Truth Social, get away from his phone, put it down. I've said a million times over, I like Trump's policies. I like what he's done. I like Trump as a businessman. I was a big fan of The Apprentice when it was on TV. I used to watch it regularly. I did my business report in school on the art of the deal. There's a lot about Donald Trump that I like separate from his political career. And what I'm very happy to see out of anything in this, whether he wins his election or not, is that cancel culture is losing. We're not seeing... I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't cancel... It's time to cancel culture. You can't cancel Donald Trump. Despite them doing their best by pulling out all the stops, by calling in all their favors, this machine seems to be moving forward at a alarming pace for Democrats, and it's going to be interesting to see where things go. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know down in the comments if you want me to keep covering what's happening with this race, if you want me to keep talking about this whenever something new pops up. Again, I typically don't get into US politics, but because it's so detrimental to what happens in Canada's politics next year, I thought, hey, this is a good time to jump in. I wanted to give my opinion on what happened with Trump's trial, if you can even call it that. It was more of a scathing, and it was biased. It was heavily biased. As Donald Trump says, there's no other way to put it besides it was rigged. The cards were against him the entire time. I expected what happened, and I expected what happened afterwards as well. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think, if you're paying attention to this or not, if you think that Donald Trump is still going to be victorious despite New York doing what they can to smear his name. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure you're hitting that button down below. Click your bell for notifications. Join me live here tonight on the channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Friday Night Fringe, as we go over everything that happened this week, everything coming up in the week ahead, and a little bit of back and forth within the community. It's always great to hear what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you here tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.